Welcome to Language Swap, everyone, a fun way to learn English. We are so excited to have you join us today.
Okay, real question before we even say hello. Has anyone ever completely lost an argument, a negotiation, or a conversation just by talking one sentence too many?
Oh, I have a very specific answer to that, and it involves me 3 years ago in a car dealership.
We're doing the car story today?
We're doing the car story today, but first, let's actually say hello properly.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sally, and today we're talking about something that genuinely changed how I handle hard conversations, negotiations, arguments, all of it. The power of silence.
This one's level B1 to B2. And honestly, the concept itself is simple. But living it is a lot harder than it sounds.
If you're at that level, this episode is exactly for you. And if you're a little below it, stay with us anyway. You don't need every single word, just the feeling and the story.
And before we get into it, if you're enjoying the podcast, please like this episode and subscribe. It genuinely helps more people find us.
Okay, let's actually get into it now.
Set the scene for me. The car dealership. What happened?
So 3 years ago, I was buying my first car completely on my own, no help from anyone, and I'd read somewhere that you should always ask for a lower price than what's listed.
Solid advice. Generally speaking, in most situations,
I thought so too. So I sat down with the salesman and I said, very confidently, I was hoping we could do a bit better on the price.
strong opening. What did he say?
Nothing. He just looked at me, didn't respond immediately, just sat there completely silent for what felt like an actual eternity.
How long was it really, though? Probably.
Honestly, maybe 4 seconds, but in that silence, I panicked and I filled it myself. I said, but if that's not possible, I completely understand. The listed price is fine too.
Oh, no. You negotiated against yourself.
I negotiated against myself out loud, in real time, purely because I couldn't tolerate 4 seconds of silence.
He didn't even have to counter your offer. You countered it for him.
He just smiled, said, sounds good. And that was the entire negotiation. I paid full price because silence made me nervous.
That's such a specific, painful little moment, honestly. And I think almost everyone's done some version of that.
I think so too. And that's actually where this whole topic really comes from. We treat silence in conversation like a wound that needs to be closed immediately instead of just a normal, natural pause.
Why do you think that is, though? Why does silence feel so uncomfortable for so many people?
I think it's because silence feels like judgment, even when it isn't. When someone doesn't respond right away, our brain assumes something's wrong and we rush to fix it.
So we fill the gap with more words, more explanation, sometimes even against our own interest, purely to relieve that discomfort.
Exactly that. And here's what I didn't understand back then. The salesman wasn't judging me in that silence. He was just waiting professionally to see what I'd do next.
He probably does that with every single customer.
Almost certainly, it's likely a completely deliberate tactic, actually, letting silence do the work instead of arguing. And it worked perfectly on me because I couldn't sit still inside it.
I want to bring in the actual psychology behind this too, since I think there's something real happening beneath just nerves.
There genuinely is. When we're anxious, our instinct is to talk. Because talking feels like action, and action feels safer than uncertainty.
So silence feels like doing nothing, even though it's actually a very active, deliberate choice in a conversation.
Exactly. Silence isn't passive at all once you understand it properly. It's one of the most powerful tools available in any serious conversation.
Give me an example of silence used well. Then, since the car story is really an example of silence used against someone.
Okay, here's one from years later, actually. Once I'd learned the lesson, I was asking for a raise at work, and I'd prepared my one clear sentence beforehand.
What was the actual sentence you used?
Based on my results this year, I'd like to discuss increasing my salary to reflect that.
Clear, direct, no apology built into it.
Exactly. And this time, when my manager paused before responding, I just sat there. I didn't fill it. I let the silence exist, uncomfortable as it felt.
How long did it actually last that time?
Maybe 6 seconds, but it felt like an hour, honestly. Every part of me wanted to say, but if now's not a good time, we can revisit it later. The exact same instinct as the car dealership.
But you didn't say it.
I didn't say it. I just breathed and waited and let him be the one to speak next.
So what actually happened after that?
He said, "Let me look at the numbers and get back to you by Friday." Completely reasonable response, and I got the raise.
So the silence itself didn't get you the raise, but not undermining your own request did.
Exactly that distinction. The silence wasn't magic. It just stopped me from talking myself out of my own ask, the way I had with the car.
I think that's such an important reframe. Actually, silence isn't a trick you're playing on someone else. It's mostly about not sabotaging yourself.
That's exactly it. Most of the damage in that car dealership wasn't the salesman's silence. It was my own words filling it.
I want to bring up something else too, actually, since I think silence matters in regular conversations, not just negotiations.
Oh, absolutely. Think about how often someone asks a genuinely thoughtful question and the other person answers instantly, without any real pause to think.
Instant answers often feel rehearsed, actually. Now that you mention it, like the thinking already happened before the question was even asked.
Exactly. A short pause before responding, even just 2 or 3 seconds, actually signals that you're genuinely considering the question, not just reciting something.
I've noticed that in people I respect a lot, actually. They pause before answering something meaningful, and it makes the answer feel more trustworthy somehow.
It really does. Silence before speaking can carry more credibility than the words themselves in the right moment.
What about silence in an argument, though? That feels like a completely different, higher stakes situation.
It's actually one of the hardest places to use it well, honestly. When someone's upset, the instinct is to defend yourself immediately, word after word, explanation after explanation, and
And that usually escalates things further.
almost always, but a genuine pause, even just acknowledging, "let me think about what you just said before responding," changes the entire tone of the conversation.
It signals that you actually heard them, instead of just waiting for your turn to talk.
Exactly that. Most arguments aren't really about winning, they're about being heard, and silence is often the clearest way to show you're actually listening.
I think what's interesting about both your stories, the car and the raise, is that the silence itself never changed. What changed was your relationship to it.
That's such a good way to put it. Honestly, the awkward pause existed both times. The only difference was whether I could tolerate it or not.
So the actual skill isn't creating silence, it's learning to survive it without rescuing the other person or yourself from the discomfort.
Exactly that skill. And it's genuinely uncomfortable at first, deliberately sitting in a pause that every instinct tells you to fill.
I think that discomfort is honestly the whole point, though. If it felt easy immediately, it probably wouldn't be doing anything useful.
Completely agree. The tension you feel in that silence is exactly the tension the other person is also feeling, and usually, whoever tolerates it longer holds more of the actual power in that moment.
Whoever tolerates it longer holds more power. That might be the whole episode in one sentence, honestly.
It really might be not power in a manipulative sense, just the simple power of not undermining your own position out of nervous energy.
I think that's genuinely such a useful thing to carry into any hard conversation, negotiation, or even just a normal chat where you want to sound more grounded.
Silence isn't empty. It's actually one of the fullest, most active things you can bring into a conversation once you stop being afraid of it.
I want to bring up one more angle on this, actually, since I think it applies specifically to people learning a new language, which is basically everyone listening to us right now.
Oh, that's such an important angle, honestly. Tell me what you're thinking.
When you're speaking a second language, silence can feel even more terrifying because you're not just pausing, you're also worried people think you don't understand or can't respond.
That's such a real, specific kind of pressure. The silence gets loaded with extra meaning that a native speaker's pause wouldn't carry at all.
So a learner might rush out a sentence that isn't fully formed yet, purely to avoid that particular kind of silence, the one that feels like it's exposing something.
I've absolutely done that, actually. In my own experience learning a language, filled a pause with something clumsy just so the silence wouldn't sit there, implying I was lost.
But the pause itself was never actually the problem, right? The problem was the story you were telling yourself about what the pause meant.
Exactly that. A native speaker takes 3 seconds to think, and nobody assumes anything negative about it. A learner takes the same 3 seconds and assumes everyone's judging their fluency.
Which means learning to tolerate silence might genuinely be a language learning skill, not just a life skill, once you think about it that way.
I think it completely is. Giving yourself permission to pause, to think in the new language, to not rush the sentence out half-formed, that's actually a mark of confidence, not weakness.
I need a second to think is such an underused sentence, honestly, in any language, but especially for learners who feel pressure to respond instantly.
It's a completely legitimate thing to say out loud. Actually, give me a moment or let me think about that buys you the exact same silence, but framed as intentional instead of accidental.
That reframe alone probably helps more than anything else we've said today. For this specific audience,
I think so too. The silence isn't evidence of not knowing the language, it's evidence of taking the question seriously enough to actually think about it.
all right, let's slow down and go through the important words from today. Word tour style.
Our first word is negotiate.
Negotiate. Let's slow that word down.
To negotiate means to discuss something in order to reach an agreement, especially about price, terms, or conditions.
In today's episode, we talked about negotiating a car price and negotiating a raise at work.
You could say, I tried to negotiate a better price, but I gave up too quickly.
Or she negotiated her salary with confidence this time.
Our next word is undermine.
Undermine an important one for today.
To undermine means to weaken or damage something, often without meaning to, sometimes through your own words or actions.
In today's episode, we talked about undermining your own request by talking too much after asking for something.
You could say, I undermined my own argument by over-explaining.
Or don't undermine your confidence by apologizing for a fair request.
Our next word is tolerate.
Tolerate a word worth sitting with.
To tolerate means to accept or endure something, especially something uncomfortable, without trying to stop or fix it immediately.
In today's episode, we talked about learning to tolerate an uncomfortable silence instead of filling it right away.
You could say, I've learned to tolerate silence during difficult conversations.
Or she could barely tolerate the pause before her manager responded.
Our next word is deliberate.
Deliberate. Let's break that one down.
Deliberate means done on purpose, carefully and intentionally, not by accident.
In today's episode, we talked about silence as a deliberate choice, not simply an accident or an empty gap.
You could say his pause felt deliberate, like he wanted me to keep talking.
Or, I made a deliberate decision to stay quiet after making my request.
Our final word is grounded.
Grounded, our final word for today.
Grounded means calm, stable, and emotionally steady, especially under pressure or in a difficult moment.
In today's episode, we talked about how tolerating silence can make you sound and feel more grounded in a conversation.
You could say she felt grounded and calm while waiting for his answer.
Or staying quiet for a few seconds made him seem more grounded than his usual nervous energy.
So today's words are negotiate, undermine, tolerate, deliberate, and grounded.
And they connect perfectly to today's whole message.
Don't undermine your own request with unnecessary words.
Learn to tolerate the silence deliberately and let it make you feel a little more grounded.
And that takes us right into say it better.
This is where we take simple sentences and make them sound more natural, more confident, and more useful.
First sentence, I asked for a better price, but then I said never mind.
Clear, but a little basic.
A stronger way to say it would be, I negotiated the price, but I undermined my own offer by backing down too quickly.
That version actually names the real mistake, not just the outcome.
Next sentence, I don't like waiting for someone to answer.
Honest, but a little flat.
A better version would be, I find it hard to tolerate silence while I'm waiting for a response.
That sounds more specific and more self-aware.
Next sentence, I stayed quiet on purpose.
Good, but we can make it stronger.
A more natural version would be, I made a deliberate choice to stay silent and let the moment sit.
That version sounds intentional instead of just accidental.
Next sentence, I felt calm when I didn't say anything.
Simple, but let's elevate it.
A stronger version would be, staying silent actually made me feel more grounded than rushing to respond.
That connects the feeling directly to the specific action.
Final sentence, I talked too much and ruined my own point.
Very relatable, honestly, for almost everyone.
A more polished version would be, I undermined my own point by continuing to talk after I'd already made it clearly.
That's such a precise way to describe exactly what happened in your car story.
It really is. And that's a good place to end. Say it better.
On silence and everything it can hold.
On patience, the quiet kind, especially.
On letting a pause do some of the work for once.
Okay, before we wrap up, here's something to actually do this week, not just think about.
Choose one conversation this week where you'd normally fill a silence quickly, out of habit.
And this time, count to 3 in your head before responding.
Just 3 seconds. Nothing dramatic.
See what happens when you let the pause exist instead of rescuing it immediately.
Because the question isn't whether silence feels comfortable.
The question is what you're currently saying purely to escape it.
Think about that this week.
And tell us in the comments, what's one moment where silence would have served you better than the words you actually used?
Keep it real. Keep it specific.
And maybe just this once, keep it a little quiet too.
If today's episode gave you something worth carrying into your next hard conversation, share it with someone who talks a little too fast under pressure, the way we both used to.
And if you've ever negotiated against yourself, the way I did in that dealership, you're in genuinely excellent company.
Honestly, most people have some version of that story, a moment they filled with words purely to escape a silence that wasn't actually dangerous at all.
Which is oddly comforting. Once you realize how universal it is, it's not a personal flaw, it's just a very human reaction to discomfort.
I think the real win this week isn't becoming a master negotiator overnight. It's just noticing the urge to fill silence once and choosing to let it sit instead.
Even one moment of that awareness genuinely changes how the rest of the conversation feels, whether it works out perfectly or not.
And if it doesn't work out perfectly the first time, that's fine too. You're not aiming for flawless. You're just aiming to notice the pattern before it runs on autopilot.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone.
We'll see you in the next episode.